It's Monday. It's your girl,
Yeah.
Lynn. And I got my friends with me. We are back for another episode of Situationship Talk AM.
Hey. Hey, the lovely Monday. Doing well.
It's another Monday.
Another
Miss
Monday.
Nikita, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, guys, we have a guest on our show tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight, we are talking about dealing with our exes. I don't know if many of you saw this, and let me just say this first. This was already our show topic prior
Right.
to Toya Luckett releasing her show. I just want to say we already had this in writing that we were doing this show this week. But I thought it was interesting and it was I think we were given the topic at the right time. LaToya Luckett has launched her Leave It to LaToya. And on her show, she had her ex boyfriend. I think he's going by Big Slim, but AKA Slim Thugger on the show. And they talked about their breakup. So I know when I have these conversations about exes, everybody has like these different opinions. So I felt like this is the perfect place to get in and talk about, are we having these conversations with our exes? We brought in a licensed professional counselor who has her own practice to talk to us about the positives and the negatives of these situations. So we are going to get started. Today is just the, Candy KAM show tonight.
Yes, it is. No
So,
problem with that.
so have either of you ever had a conversation with your ex after the breakup about what happened, who you are, what you could do better?
Somewhat, I would say. I mean, I don't think it was that structured, or we hit those exact bulletin points. I
Okay.
think it was just, things that, you want, things we've been wanting to get off our chest, I would say, was more of how the conversation went, things that we didn't discuss while we were in a relationship kind of came out. And then like some things like I talked to an ex and I just had questions about how things kind of went and things that I've been wanting to know, but I don't think it was like, as nice structured as you stated. No, no, not at all.
They're not always as conducive as the playback in our head, and we thought it was go.
Yeah.
My answer would, I would actually go with no when I think back on it, because my personality style for me is, and it has obviously nothing to do with therapy, to be honest. It's just I'm one of those people that I'm going to give you 100%, and when I run out of gas, it's a wrap. Ain't nothing for us to talk about, because I've expressed, I've tried, I've done everything. Um, and I say that in real time exes. When I say real time, I mean like actual adulthood, like more serious relationships.
Mhm.
There's probably one that obviously I dated in high school that the breakup, we had just a normal breakup. I think typically we lived in two different towns for one. So he cheated.
Oh, yeah.
And we're young, of course. And I went off to college and he moved to Colorado. So it was just definitely what it was. So there was no like real friction there. So we're still cordial to this day, and like respect boundaries. And I just say boundaries simply because he'll make comments like you should be my wife and things like that. And it's like, bro, you're engaged. Like, so you already
Guys are so scummy. The more I hear, like, what is wrong with these people?
For me, um, stay on the lookout for my future book. Listen, I am the official take back queen. Um, I think, but for me, the most powerful conversations, most of my exes and I have maintained friendships along the way. And the ones I really don't like, we don't have a friendship. Like it's one he and I, we're
That's
not.
the Libra. That's the Libra in us. We be
Yeah.
friends with our exes, even though maybe we shouldn't be.
Yeah. And so sometimes I've had to like establish boundaries, but right before I turned 30, y'all, I was like going through that whole that midlife, I was having like a breakdown. I was really like doubting myself, and then those goals that we set for ourselves growing up, I just wasn't hitting them, and I just had questions, and I was like, dang, I'm 30, I'm not married, is it me? The dude I was dating at that time, I was like, I don't like him, I gotta go. So for whatever reason, it's like my exes were all sent back to me, like everyone that I had dated up until that point, I had a chance to talk to them, and I think that started my growth process. I really had a chance to grow after talking to them about things that I didn't even really understand were unresolved. So just I see my behavior. I saw my behavior different. I started to accept responsibility for what I had done in the past, for who I was, being okay with, that's who you are. Maybe you're not going to get married tomorrow. Just a lot of different things of talking to them that was like reassuring of it's okay not to be together. It doesn't mean I failed. It doesn't mean I did anything wrong. It just means for our season, we didn't belong together.
Yeah, I be
So
having those talks with myself.
you said you did what with yourself?
I be having those talks with myself. No, I'm a very self-reflective person because I know I be doing some shit. Like I have no problem identifying my flaws at all. I just have a hard time when I'm in a relationship pointing out their flaws until I'm no longer around them or with them. Then it's like, this motherfucker had the audacity to do this and this and that. And I let this slide and that slide. And I said nothing. I ain't never doing that. So it's more of the self-reflection. Like, I don't need them telling me about me. I know me. I know me better than anyone else know me.
But do you really? That's always my question.
Yes. Yeah.
No, you take ownership and responsibility and accountability for everything.
Hell no, I'm not perfect. I said a lot. I'm just saying the same shit that she gonna name, I didn't probably name. That's what I'm saying. Gonna be redundant. I don't need to hear it from her. I already got it from myself.
So from a counseling perspective, what I wanted to know is, do you think these conversations are productive to help people, kind of not be depressed and angry and bitter? Like, do you think these conversations are productive, or are they counterproductive in certain instances?
And that's such a broad question because we'll go with the original answer of it all depends on the situation, how things ended, and if it's conducive for the individual, right? So, and I only say that just because, like, based on the situation, say if you had something like really bad and you felt like you needed closure, a lot of times what we want to hear, we may not get that. So then you just put yourself back in a situation to where you may have even more questions than what you started with. So a lot of that really begins on like the perfect thing that AM was saying is like knowing yourself. Like, is this what you really want to hear? Like, do you really feel, is there a reason why? So to me, I would definitely identify the reason why you're even wanting to have the conversation with an ex. That would be the most important, because then you can kind of go from there and kind of see like, okay, is this even solvable? Like, am I going to possibly even get an answer on what I'm actually seeking for? And then you can kind of process yourself through. If the end result is yes, okay, I need to have that conversation. The biggest thing that people fail to realize is that that's still going to involve two people. Are they going to be as receptive, as you are, in trying to figure out, the answer to your question? Because like you both were just mentioning, it's going to take both people to understand. Like AM's like, I know who I am. But again, at the end of the day, there's going to be something that this person may see that AMA you may not be aware of. Because like you said, like Candy was saying, it's perspective. So, if you look at it, think about siblings, right? Everybody, well, not everybody, but most people who have siblings and they grow up in the same home, even with two parents, one parent, but they still come out different because of perspective, right?
Yeah.
So your parents raised you the exact same way. You hear the same things, you lecture the same thing. Everybody had conversations about the rules, the regulations. And then when all 2, 3, 4, 5 graduate or move on, you got the pen, you got the doctors, you got all these random things. You always got one that just ain't gonna do right. So at the end of the day, it's about how you perceive a situation, because different people brings out different sides of you.
Yeah, when I had the conversation with the ex, it was more of me needing to get answers to get closure. Yeah, because I don't want to say I don't care what people say. I do care what exes have to say about me. It just, I'm never going to need that particular conversation to get over the relationship.
Right.
Unless there's lingering questions.
It can be very informative, like you said, like you would want to get some insight. And the only thing I see this a lot, that people try to change themselves. Like, so
Mm.
if I just have a breakup and my exes, we had a great conversation and he's telling me what was wrong in our relationship, right? So then I start changing me based on that one conversation. But then when I meet somebody else, they can say they don't like those things about me that I've just changed, because those fit the last person needs, not my new partner.
Mm.
So that is also a concern.
I agree with y'all. I feel like, like I said, for me, it was important. It was important for my growth.
Yeah.
They weren't necessary because we had been friends, and like certain things, I feel like when you're younger, you move past, right? Because I don't feel like I was communicating very well in my 20s. I don't think I was like as good about that in my 20s as I am now in my 30s. So I think it's a different level. And when someone tells you, you know what, as you said, like men, I tell people all the time, I didn't realize men needed to be affirmed so much. Like, you are amazing. You are wonderful. Thank you for paying the bills. Thank you for showing up. Like, I didn't know that most of them needed that. So some of my shortcomings were the fact that I wasn't saying, you're amazing. You're excellent. I appreciate you. I value you. I need you. So I think that taught me how to be a little bit more feminine and softer in the fact of, you ain't got to cuss him out, call him out his name when you get mad. What do you say when everything is going okay? So I think that was a self check for me, because who else was going to give it to me? My friends wasn't going to say, girl, tell that man he beautiful. Tell that man he's sexy. Like,
Right.
we're not having those conversations with each other about
See, but
the,
yeah, that's crazy. I had a conversation in regards to raising. It's about raising your kids. And I realize we so focused on raising good women and raising good men. If we just raise good people, people will just see each other as people, and they will give common respect and common compliments. People like people just like compliments. Then you will automatically give your partner compliments. But no, we learned that women like compliments, women like gifts, not men. Men like this, men like that. But honestly, who doesn't like, every once in a while to get a hug, every once in a while to get told you smell good or you look nice. It's just something common that I feel like every person likes to hear. They may not be seeking it, but they like to hear it.
And I'm glad y'all brought that up, because I get so irritated when people say stuff like, so love language is a real thing,
Mm.
right? And there's only 5, to be clear. People will say, my love language is music, and my love language is communication, and and I don't know, sometimes it may be funny, and sometimes it's just, sometimes they're serious, and I'll just be like, ugh. But that's an important aspect of any relationship, is to know
Mm.
each other's love language, because as humans, naturally, we love people per our love language, because that's how we want to be loved. So then when you got somebody that's words of affirmation, but like my love language is acts of services, and I'm lucky as far as my relationship, we're both acts of services, so it just works. But if you got somebody else that's acts of services, and then somebody else that's what words of affirmation, but yet you just support them, but you're not actually physically saying I'm proud of you, then they will feel
Mm.
like you're
Yeah.
never, and you're like, bro, I've been here every step of the way. Like, what do you mean? But they like, no, you haven't. And that's a lot of times where the confusion takes place, is because people need to be loved per their love language, but it's so many people who don't know what their love language is.
Yeah.
girl, you said a word. You said a mouthful. Because we want to be loved how we want to be loved. And for me, acts of service is at the bottom of my list, and words of affirmation is at the bottom of my list. So I'm learning. And that's why I feel like these conversations are important. Like you said,
They
somebody
are.
asked, did you change for yourself or did you change for your partner? And I think you should change for yourself.
Definitely for yourself. And I see
Yeah.
one down that I was going to mention too, um, attachment styles, and that is very important to know. The only thing that I hate about research is constantly, growing.
Change.
So it's changing. So now there's like 4 or 5. I just go with the main 3, and that's definitely the secure, the anxious, and the avoidance. So knowing your attachment styles is big too, but that also goes into childhood, and your attachment child is based on your parent-child relationship.
Mm.
you know And just to kind of give some more, a little bit more details for the ones who don't know, secure is just what it is. You're secure in who you are. You're confident. Everything is fine. Anxious is more so like nervousness. Like you're always anxious about everything. You need the reassurance. You need to be comfort. And avoidant is you just rather be isolated. Like you just at that point to where, and these are not necessarily bad things, but when you mesh, so like my personal relationship, I'm anxious and he's avoidant. So that's where our conflict ends or starts. There is because I'm needing more reassurance and like, because based on give the whoever on here some feedback to understand where my anxiousness come from. I had both my parents in and out of prison. I didn't have a consistency and like stability growing up. So I'm always on like, what's next? Like, so when you move a little funny, I'm like, whoa, like what's going on here? What changes y'all gonna make? And people will say like I'm controlling in a sense to where, and I tell people, I feel like I'm not controlling because I don't try to control other people. I try to make sure I'm good. So that's how I view the difference. Yeah. And so I try to make sure my surrounding is good. So I try to communicate that. But he have moments where he just even want to isolate. Like, I don't want to be bothered. I just, and he'll communicate that too. But I'm still like, after so long, like, how much time do you need, bro? Like, so that is whoever brought that. That is. So knowing your attachment style is very important. To go into the other ones, the newer ones, is like disorganized, and then there's like
interesting,
disorganized, and then there's like a fearful one. And I think the disorganized one, they try to like combine it and say like you kind of have a mix of some things. So like 1 minute you'll feel anxious, and the next minute, you might kind of want to isolate, But obviously, the healthy one of the 3 to 4 is the secure one.
My attachment style is secure. I'm secure in myself. I need to be rooted. The house, my phone number stay the same. There's just certain basic things that are supposed to be considered. But like you said, because it's how we were raised. It's how we were raised.
Apparently, I'm anxious. I didn't even realize that because you started describing. Apparently, I got a little anxious attachment, I guess.
But at least
there's a book. There's information, pamphlets online, and things that you can find out. There's always quizzes of some kind if you just get in touch with a LPC or any type of mental health provider. They provide you with resources and places where you can go and actually take legitimate tests to find out, because some people will read things and be like, oh yeah, that's me, I'm this, and it's like that's not how that works.
You gotta take the quizzes. That may be a good one.
Or the assessment, I should say.
Assessments, you're right. Assessments. So there's a question. If you have a person who's never been loved, how do you love them?
Listen to them, because they'll tell you. Because the thing is, I won't say that they've never necessarily been loved. They probably haven't been loved the way they wanted to be loved, and that's usually where the disconnect, I would say, is. And I only say that because even some of the worst parenting, but that's probably the best that they know how. So they're loving you per what they feel they know how. So a lot of times we judge people on our version of what love may look like. So it's say like, oh, well, you're not loving me correctly, but some people loving you the best that they know how. It just may not be up to par. And that's why I always tell people that relationships is about two individuals who are fighting for each other, period. Whatever that odd or weirdness or uniqueness or, y'all, whatever, outside looking in, that's just our opinion from our version of what love is. So it's just a matter of, you got to communicate with that partner to understand what their needs are. And again, knowing their love language, the attachment styles, their likes and dislikes. And don't be scared of having the hard conversations. That is the biggest thing, because a lot of times they fear that maybe some people will run off if you tell them about the ugly stuff, and some people do, but that's just the reality of it. You got to get the ugly stuff out the way. And if they leave, then obviously they weren't meant for you, because the people who's able to handle the ugly stuff, those are the ones who probably going to rock with you and stay down anyway.
True. So hopefully that answered the question, right? So we're going to go into our next question. So we're talking about these breakups. We're talking about love. For those exes, is it okay, or have any of you guys stayed connected to your ex's family? Do you have any connections to your ex through family members or like just common connections? AM, I'm gonna start with you because I know I'm gonna get the.
No, no, that's weird. That's weird and that disrespectful in so many ways, especially if that like if we move on. Like if I break up with you, I break up with the family. I feel like I miss out on all of it. Unless there's kids involved, of course. If you're family for life, if there's kids involved. But if there was like no, no. I don't care how much I love your mama, I don't care how much your mama love me. No, no, no. I don't want to be
Well,
around
my
your mama no more.
question would you to you, AM, would be, so how genuine was the relationship?
It was my girlfriend's mama type of
Well,
genuine.
I
It was
mean,
about
like, if you're
it.
cutting off, like, was the relationship genuine, or was it like, in your opinion,
It
for you?
it. I think every relationship. Well, me personally, I'm not gonna say everyone.
Right.
I can't fully be friends with my significant other parents or my significant other family members because that's their family, and there has to be some border. Granted, we are family, but I don't tell my family everything. So it's like there has to be boundaries with everyone, even your significant other's family. Like you can be cordial, you can be again, you can feel like you're part of the family and all of that. It's perfectly fine, but every family has the people you just don't talk to or you cordial with, you just hang out with. That's how it is for in-laws, basically, in my eyes.
Okay. So for me, it'll fall back on the genuineness of the relationship.
Mm.
Because to me, like, you kind of know who you, when you be around somebody family, you have the everybody you speak to, but then you have the ones you really rock with and kicked with. So for me, I don't think that it's a problem as long as there's a boundary set and nobody's disrespecting anybody and everybody's kind of like on the same page. Because to me, if you stop talking to me because we split up, I'm going to question you as a person. Simply because how genuine, like, would you really messing with me because of me, or was you? And you can kind of tell who just talked to you because the dude bringing you around or the female bringing you around versus in somebody that actually, build
Like
a
you.
relationship and liked you, and y'all was doing things outside of just the friendship. I mean, the relationship. So to me, I think it depends on the genuineness of the person. You hear this question a lot. So I was really glad to ask that because that is a common. People just say no, that's weird, and people always want to assume that you are hanging on. But to each his own. For first of all, me personally, it's so funny because I always tell people I got a 12, 20 step kids. And then just because, like you mentioned, kids, like,
Yeah.
you involved in certain things, and it's just like, dang, so it's like kids don't understand the difference to an extent, and then
Right.
they'll appreciate, like, oh, you've been around, da 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 da, and you still didn't change on me, and that doesn't interrupt a child's life, because those things can draw a sense of abandonment in certain things simply because of that. And if you feel that it's weird, I would just say have a genuine conversation and say, hey, this is kind of my boundary. I don't feel comfortable. And then move it
Oh
along.
no, yeah. My family knows when I break up, you break up. It's straight like that. If I break up, you break up. We all broken up.
So it depends, right? So
That
like
easy.
I have my moments where I'm like petty, like I ain't talking to them. Don't you talk to them? So like my sister, they know. I be like, I ain't talking to it. Like my mama will be like, she ain't talking to you. Don't come up. Leave me out of this. My mama has done somebody like that, and I'm like, right now she not fooling with you. Leave me alone. But as far as like some of my exes, I'm just like you said, I rock with they folks. Like we rock. I'm invited to the cookouts. Like no questions asked. You and your boo can be there. I'm gonna be respectful. Like, hey, how you doing? You don't need to introduce me as nobody but myself. Introduce me by my name. And if she don't know, leave it at that. And that's how we rock. Like that's just how I am. Like you said, if we built those genuine relationships, I'm not cutting people's parents off. Like my ex and I, we ain't talked since we broke up. Like literally, I don't talk to him. Me and his pops is cool. He like, listen, my daughter just moved to town. Like I want you to, and me and his sister hit each other up. My brother's ex-girlfriend, we cool with her. Like,
Maybe something wrong
I'm
with
not
me because
necessarily inviting her to
y'all met
dinner.
a lot of families. I haven't met a lot of families. Y'all just seem like y'all done met every nigga family y'all done dated.
I
Yeah, I
mean, but
really exaggerate my number a little bit, but
yeah,
I'm just
you
saying,
know,
I didn't make it, but I didn't make it past a certain point. I didn't make it all the way to parents with our
okay.
relationships.
But when you've
So
been in like long-term relationships, you
yeah,
know, like
yeah, I haven't made no milestones apparently.
it's like it
yeah.
kind of comes with that. Like
And
people
see, but that's
mama,
where you have to do those boundaries there because, like, even in my case, like I've been invited to things. I don't go to like the family cookouts, things like that. But like a graduation, of a niece or somebody that I know that's a significant moment. Birthdays, I'll call and text happy birthday, things like that. Or me and the sister may go out on our own. Like we'll meet up at
yeah.
like I'm not going to mama house. I'm not going to, now that I don't. So my boundary is clear, but I'm gonna treat you like a friend before like if I met you before I even knew this person.
And that's how it was for me a long time. Like a long time I stayed cool with the exes. I would go visit grandma when nobody there, like on
Yeah.
a Friday at 2 o'clock in the day when nobody is pulling up at grandma's house. Like not willingly going and inviting myself places, trying to stay out of the way of them because you need to have your own life, you know?
Right.
And I do. I have an ex that for his wife knows, like, we cool, we ain't as cool as we used to be because I had to create some boundaries, but
Yeah.
I've just created, we've had genuine friendships. And when you have that, there's got to be boundaries. Like, you know what it is. Like, we're not dipping and dabbing. This is literally just my friend, mutual respect. We can talk about whatever. As you said, I just sent a gift for a baby shower not too long ago. Sent her a gift and she
Oh,
was like, we talked and that was it. And I was like, congratulations. I've watched you grow up. Just wanted to send you to, because her and her boyfriend have been together since I've known, I pretty much known them. Like, congratulations on your wedding. Congratulations on your baby. That was it. Like, I'm not going to the wedding. Here's your gift.
I
We
mean
move.
that's not inappropriate. I feel like that's reasonable. I feel like this is like pretty. I feel like that's normal. I feel like you see someone that has went to a certain have kids, get married, big milestones. It's normal to say congratulations or do something for them. I do that for classmates that I don't even talk to. Well, I would. I haven't because we ain't that cool. But I at least say congratulations and other things, because it is big steps in their life, and it is good to see them get to that point.
And it's
But not
like,
exes. But not exes though.
for me,
That's
it's like, oh, these are your baby, these are your little baby nieces and nephews for 10 years. These are good stretches of life where you can continue communication because you've been involved with this person so long. So I just think I've learned older boundaries. And when I talk to family members, we don't talk about them. Y'all see my sister coming. I can't stand her. But
we
sometimes,
friends outside of her.
sometimes it just is what it is because, you've known somebody since she's 15 or 16 years old. You do build a relationship.
I don't have none of these types of connections. I'm gonna do better. Like everybody on the show, I'll be learning different things, and
That's
the
the
fact,
point of the show.
right. I'll be learning a whole new method.
But again, you got to go on based on you. You probably just haven't met someone even worth that time, like as far as the extended family to even want to even be.
I mean, I have met people's extended families. Not a lot. I said like y'all have met a lot.
No,
I
I
would
mean
say
like to the point where you like them to where you want to continue the
true,
relationship. Yeah.
true.
That's
Yeah,
what
no, we
that's
haven't got
probably the
that.
difference. Because like
Yeah.
even in the situations that I have been in, it's always been like family members have told me like leave him alone, like getting to know you and da 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 da. You don't leave that, let that go. Like I rather will see you happy. Be like
That's real.
Yeah, that is
That's
real.
you
real.
can't do nothing but respect those kind of people to say, my brother or my uncle, my cousin is who they are. And, based on meeting you and what you're trying to do, you're trying to help this person do that and they not getting it. Just move on with your life, baby. And I had a mama tell me that one time. That's when it's bad. But that's
Yeah,
when I knew like it ain't me. I ain't
that's pretty bad.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty
I
And
bad.
it's time to go when the mama says it's time to go because she
Yeah,
raised that child. That's her
right.
kid.
That's
and
and
in
that's
her
how
words,
it is the
he just like his
ultimate.
damn daddy.
See,
That's That's like the ultimate betrayal. Like, mom, really? You telling on
But it's
me?
not betrayal, like, right? Why would I let my kid ruin somebody else's life? Like,
As a
you
But
know,
woman. But
yeah.
that
talk
was
to your
that was
child.
the
Let's talk
conversation.
to your
It
child.
was like, you know what? I'm a rock with my baby, and I love my baby, and he a mama's boy. But at the end of the day, as a woman, she was like, I don't want to see you going through this. It was just kind of like one of those conversations.
And to me, that's real. Like
That's
that.
real, but I would still be mad at my mom. That's
Why?
real, but
Why would you be mad
because
at
at
them?
least talk to me. At least be like,
Diane.
I'm gonna at least
I
give
did
me an
too. I did too.
opportunity to be like, talk to her and tell her you're not gonna do right and leave her alone, or I'm gonna do it. At least give him an opportunity to have that conversation with you. But she was like, no, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, my son, you ain't gonna no do better.
Well, in
Just
my
go.
actual situation, it was several conversations, and when nothing changes, she was like, "Look, you know,
Okay.
before this get too out of hand,
Mhm.
and you got to feel like you're gonna hurt my baby or whatever because I don't, I don't see you cuss me out and be mad, so I don't know how it will go. So I'm just gonna step in, and this is what
Yeah. Okay.
we need you to do. Yeah. So it was definitely yeah.
You were past the point of no
And
return. You needed
I
that
think
talk.
as parents, I think that's real for a parent.
Right.
So in high school, like I had an ex boyfriend. His daddy was like, when we finally talked about it, literally I was 30, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my pops was like, leave you alone. I wasn't even in your league. I wasn't qualified." Basically, is what his daddy said. And his daddy wasn't lying. Like, you know, I could never do anything but have a real respect for them, because when you
Mm.
meet people and you present yourself as who you really are, people know when they kids do not belong, and that's not being funny,
Yeah.
but you
Just be
just not
honest.
good enough.
Yeah.
And people know that. And so when people root for you, they want you to win. And that's why I could have a conversation. My ex's dad, we real cool, because he always tell me, you got to stop driving in reverse. So whenever I feel myself now as an adult kind of going backwards,
Yeah.
his words stick to my head. He was like, you cannot drive a car in reverse. If you are in reverse, you're going backwards. You're not going forward. And it always stuck with me. And that's what he would tell me all the time, as in, you know what you need to do. Stop playing with people, those type of things. So when you get valuable information from an adult, I respect it.
Right.
Because
And that's
sometimes
where you have to assess yourself, like you're saying. If he's telling you that and are you going in reverse on the basic topic of the conversation tonight is will this conversation with the ex even, be valid, or
Valid. Yep.
how is it going to even help you? How are you going to benefit from this? Because if someone's already telling you this now, granted, some people grow up and get better and then, maybe y'all can reconnect in however many years, but that's a personal thing. How they say everybody have seasons. So again, you have to decide, like I was mentioning before, like identify what the issue was and then set the goal and try to figure out what will be the purpose and the benefit of this, and then decide if dealing with the ex and even having that conversation would even be worth it. Because if it's a high school ex, I would say no, because this has been 20
Change.
years, right?
Yeah.
You're not even the same person. So whatever you had going on then, that I'm not even that person anymore. um the ex can finally grow up and he or she realize what they had and then want to talk to you, but yet you're in a whole new situation, and yeah, you might have had a million questions that you really want answers to, but would that be productive if you're in a current relationship? you know what do you need that closure for if you already done moved on, especially if you're in a positive healthy relationship? So I think you got to kind of assess the entire situation versus then just saying, oh, let me have a conversation with my ex to see if, like you say, if I'm driving in reverse. Because a lot of times we don't always intend, driving the car. Our heads be all over the place, and we put the car in reverse when we meant to go and drive. And that's where mistakes happen. So you might not want to go to drive in reverse, in a sense, because now they can put you in a situation and you reflecting back on something that really is irrelevant. And then would you be wasting more time going backwards?
And that's what his dad meant. It wasn't even about him, because we
Mhm.
never like literally being. He was always telling me for my own personal life, like the missteps. Nothing comes to a dreamer, but nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. Like we would have, like you said, because sometimes we need to be reminded of what we need to do. And so for me, like you said, you're going into my next question. Have you guys ever doubled back? Okay, for our audience that's listening, have you ever doubled back to a situation? And if you have, what was the outcome? AM, your face is telling me a whole story that I already know the answer to.
No, I actually ain't gonna lie. My dog was barking. I had y'all on mute. But to answer your question, yeah, same outcome. Yeah, I'm single right now, so same exact fucking outcome. So yeah,
Mine is a
I'm
no.
huh?
We gotta talk about that. Wait a minute, I missed something.
Yeah, but this is like I've double back a couple times with a couple different people. Always the same outcome. Always the same outcome. I feel like it's sometimes things just sometimes we be right. We be right. You be right. We won't be right. Sometimes be like, you know what? We were right the first time. We shouldn't have never did this. We were right. That's how I feel
Don't
a
double
lot
back
of
without
those.
a mediator. That would be
Without
my.
a mediator.
I would just say during therapy. And I only say that because you're going to be back in the same situation of both of you pointing your own point of views and nobody's seeing the other person's point of view. So you keep making the same argument most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. Same circle.
Usually it takes a long time for somebody to grow up to say, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that now. And usually at that time, most people are not going to take you back at that point. So if you're going to double back, my advice would be a mediator. But for me, the answer is no, because like I answered earlier, I'm going to give you 100%. So we can't get this right. Like, and I'm not a take break person. To me, it's like, because I'm not giving you no room to do whatever you want to do and thinking,
Yeah.
ain't no break. If we can't fix this, then let's just say
Break up.
call it a day.
Well, again, I've learned my lesson, I think, finally. I'm pretty sure I've learned it finally. Because if we break up, if this relationship don't work, I'm over it. But yes, I double back more times than I like to talk about. And the old me used to think, oh, the worst has already happened, right? In college, I was like, oh, he's already done the worst. He's already had a baby that he told me about once the baby got here. What else could happen?
A lot.
Y'all would have
Anything.
to stay tuned for the book to get the rest of it because it
How
didn't
about
get
say
any.
anything?
What'd you say?
Anything could happen.
It got worse, right? Because then you realize that some of these people, they just are who they are. I don't think it doesn't mean they don't love you. It just means that we don't belong together. And that's when I figured out what toxic was. When you look at that situation and you was like, we were a disaster together. So we're toxic energy together and everything is eventually going to bust. It's going to become combustible.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me. So I would just advise most women, if somebody could have gave 20-year-old me advice, it would have been like,
no, we should have read. We should have read Maya Angelou.
Crazy emotional abusive like cycle. But when you say double back to me, that means like y'all done broke up for some time span and then come back.
Oh yeah, we like
lasted long enough to be just broken. It was just constant. Like I ain't talking to you for 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week, and then like okay, just making sure. So I won't be like I'm on her line.
So I've done it both ways.
So it was the first time we were best friends in high school. We got together, and I want to say when I was like 19. We broke up when I was like, I don't know, at my sophomore year in college, whatever that was, we broke up. When I moved back to Dallas in 2006, we got back together. We were together about 3 years. We broke up again. We got back together. We broke up again. We got back together.
Y'all did it a lot.
And in between, there was another one. So I had 2 boyfriends that it was like a rotating cycle of the 2 of them. It was like, oh, we broke up for now. I'm gonna go back. Oh, we together. So if my 20-year-old me, what I would say to 20-year-old me is, don't answer the phone. And at that time, I changed my numbers. I blocked people, social media. It's like they always find me. So I would just tell young people, when you got them people that's crazy, sometimes you just gotta quit giving into the energy. Because I've learned for men do it just because they can.
I know how women do too. I feel like women do too.
Well, see, because I
feel like women do too.
I don't call people and like, hey, let's get back together. I don't send texts like, hey, let's get back together.
Women definitely do that. Women definitely do that all the time.
So they jump in your DMs.
I think people do that, but I think it's a comfort. But it's conditioned. Like you want to see um how far you can go with people, you know. And then some people unfortunately like to keep people on the back burner, like just to know that, oh,
Yeah.
I got this person.
Placeholder.
If this don't work out, then I'm gonna run back over it because it's comfort. Somebody always want to have somebody, and that is a sign that you just really not. A lot of times you're not healthy and okay with yourself.
Oh, can I answer this question?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay, okay. So, so, what dating advice? Because the thing is, I have a lot of friends in your age range that don't listen to nothing I fucking tell. Nothing. So I hope you listen. Take your time. Date people for long periods of time. Do not rush into a relationship with people. You know, like Maya Angelou said, if someone showed you who they really are, believe them. Believe them. Believe it. When someone gives you all the red flags all the time, that weird feeling, read into it. Go deeper. Why do I feel like this? This isn't a good thing. And run. If it ain't right, run. Get the fuck on down. Do not stay. You are young. Do not let anyone waste your fucking time.
But make sure it's about them and not you when you have those feelings.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Because that's a big thing is people ruin a lot of good relationships because of past experiences.
True.
Like you will run into somebody and somebody could be like some like we'll say living with their mama, whether it's girl or boy, you know. And just because oh they live with their mama, then you run off and like I'm the last person I dealt with live with their mama and he was this, she was that, that,
Yeah.
you know. But then come to find out, okay, like COVID just happened. They lost their job. Where else am I supposed to go? But you know,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, you would get some of those details. But sometimes we assess a situation based off a past one. That sometimes you can miss out on a good person based on these bias, crazy social media, society beliefs that you can miss out on a good person. But everything
Yeah.
else, I definitely agree with everything. I just like to make sure because sometimes we reflect our own personal problems on other people.
Yeah, I agree. They want to dive deeper. You really have to understand why is that feeling. Because sometimes you either
Right.
listen to it and break up too soon, or we don't listen to it and we stay way too long.
Yes,
So,
Niecy, is that a you thing or a them thing? Because your own, because you have your own standards of what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes when you feel like your standards are being shaken, you question, well, am I settling? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? You know, but the reality of it is that you're never going to get 100% of a person you want in anybody. So you have to learn to love what is as well. So like a
Mm-hmm.
prime example that I tell a lot of my clients is they talk about relationships or frustration with friendships and other things. And I usually there is a book called Love What Is Too, and I read that, and that's where I got this example from. And she used an example about how the husband would always throw the socks on the floor. Like he'd get off work, he'd put his shoes to the side, but throw his socks on the floor. And she would get pissed off and they would argue. She like clean up, clean up, clean up. And so the after going through the therapy session, it comes to find out that she has more of a cleanliness and more of like an OCD trait. So the problem is not necessarily him. I know logically everybody like the fuck it is like he needs to be grown, he needs to get his shit out the middle of the floor. But the thing is, the problem is the socks is what's bothering you because of your cleanliness, and it was disorganized, and you like things in place. So the socks is out of place, so that pissed you off. But the person that put them out of place, you took it out on them instead of just moving the damn socks because you're the one bothered by the socks. He's not.
mhm.
So you got
Yeah.
to learn what is, and you got to learn like what is it with you about the situation. But if it's clearly them, that's fine. So I'm not saying blame yourself for anything. Don't take that out of context. I'm just saying you have to kind of know yourself and know kind of what the problem is because that's just a form of displacement. A lot of times we displace our own personal projections on other people or
Mm-hmm.
even our relationships when it's not necessarily completely them in a sense. So you definitely have to be big on communication.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that. I like that, y'all. So, for me, what I would tell a 22-year-old is to understand who you are. Enjoy life. Give yourself goals for yourself. What is it that you're looking for your life? And when you're looking for a partner, do not settle. I think young people, we decide, I like him. So we get off task of what we need to do. When you find somebody that you're supposed to be walking in purpose with, you guys will stay on task together. That person will make you a better person. You will make that person a better person. But if you are not a complete person yourself, you have not done the things you wanted to do, you have not dated the people you want to date, I would tell young girls, stop running to the altar because it is going to
Mm.
end in disaster. Stop looking for a husband. When you're supposed to have a husband, he will come to you and figure out what it is that you want. Do you want to date? Do
Or
you want
wife.
to be a wife?
It's Pride Month. Or a wife. Husband or a wife, ladies
A
and
husband
gentlemen.
or a
You can
wife?
pick.
You listen, I mean it in general. You know that.
Pride Month.
You know that. You know what you know I mean that in general, right? And that's the same thing, like on both sides. 22-year-old women getting married, you just graduated from college, some of you, or you're like still taking gap years.
Yeah.
You're still transitioning gap years from high school. So just enjoy life. Go travel. Go do the things that you like to do. Go get a facial, right? Get a passport. Like, I just think there are a lot of things that women can do for self before we jump into trying to give for somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? Then you're 22 and y'all on the struggle bus together, don't know nothing. And as Nykitia just said, then y'all are arguing about socks. Wait till you're 25 and you can afford a house cleaner, and then they'll pick up the socks. Y'all can go and go to work and go on vacation. So just take time and pour into yourself before you start trying to pour into a relationship. And if you don't have to have no babies before you start having babies or adopting babies or having babies yourself, like, work on self. Find your happiness.
Would be don't compare.
Mm.
Because that's where the rush comes in and all of the impulsive decisions, because you're comparing yourself to what society think you have. And then also someone else said it, I'll piggyback, is also finding who you are, because you got to keep in mind, as kids, we're taught to believe in certain things based on our parents because that's just role modeling. So once you start understanding and you get a little bit older, I start identifying what you like. A lot of people decide. I have a lot of teenagers in therapy that be like, I can't wait to leave because I'm not going to be Catholic. And I'm just be like, okay.
They do.
Or I don't like this religion, or whatever it may be. And then so that way you can start identifying some of the things that you like, because that makes the biggest factor. But overall, do what makes you happy, and don't be me. I'm more of the open perspective. Being a therapist has changed my perspective on everything. So I would just say live too. Like, I wouldn't say, like, I don't want to piggyback and say everything, both parties just said is absolutely correct. But also it may come a point to where you might be in absolute head over heels in love. Y'all may work out for 20 years and then get a divorce, but that's 20 great years you've had with a person. So I wouldn't say, also settle or like, say, oh, throw the young card out there and not take a chance. Do whatever makes you happy in those moments. And that way you don't regret it later as well. But enjoy life. That's the biggest thing. Definitely suggest therapy. Everybody should have therapy.
I agree. And when I say, like, enjoy your life, what I've realized is, especially being a teacher, just like you said, I have so many kids that are like, when I get grown, I'm not going to be a Catholic. I'm moving out of my parents' house. I hate the way they raise us. I hate my culture. I'm going to go get a black man. And I'm just like, figure out who you are. You're listening to rap music and you're taking on everybody else's personality. What makes you happy? And I suggest, before we get out of here, one of my tips is write down the things that literally make you happy. Because if you ask people, give you 5 things that make them happy, they can't tell you.
They don't know.
They don't know.
No, that's a real thing. I've asked someone that was like 24, no, she doesn't 25. What makes you happy? What do you like to do for you? And she didn't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know?
Or they all say money.
No, she doesn't even know. But she knew she wanted somebody. I was like, why don't you just want yourself? Just yourself. Be by yourself.
And then I always being by yourself. If one of your goals and happiness is money, then at least set a goal. Like, I want to start at 100,000. Be realistic too with yourself, because people be like, I want to be a millionaire. Okay, that's cool. I'm definitely not doubting you, but how? And then also, if you chasing money, money has no end. You're gonna be running forever.
Yeah.
And when you chase money, somebody asked, where do I work? I work in high school. I taught high school this year at alternative school, and it's a totally different vibe. But if you're chasing money, You also gonna do things that you shouldn't do because you're chasing something that you can't get because, as you said, it has an end. So when I say be happy, like take yourself to lunch. Take yourself to a steak dinner. We've talked about that before. Take yourself to Cheddar's before you ask somebody else to take you to Papa Do's.
I take myself to concerts all the time.
Take yourself to a concert. Go to a coffee shop. Like take a bath. Like go on vacation with your friend. Like I want young women to do things that you figure out who you are on your own. Don't say you like to travel because I can't be like, oh, I want to go traveling because I seen Nykitia on vacation.
Yeah,
you don't even know it required a passport to get there. Like that's all that I'm trying to get people to understand. Like there's some basic steps in life that we must touch, and we need to figure out who we are. Quit getting designer. Like when girls be talking about Birkins, like, baby, do you know how much a Birkin costs?
Right.
Stay off of Instagram.
Them Birkins don't be real. Come on now.
Instagram is fake. Stop looking at what you think. People are renting bags and borrowing their friends. Like, just focus on yourself for young people. And then, as Nykitia say, if your happy ever after comes along, if Mr. or Mrs. Perfect comes along and sweeps you off your feet, then we rooting for you. But until then, stop looking for them. What about a plus size stripper? Wait a minute. Hold on, y'all. I got thrown off by the comments. Y'all reading these?
Yeah, I read it.
That's what
She said, like, somebody be like a plus size stripper. Chase your happiness, even if it's,
I mean, hey, if you feel the need to be a plus size stripper, by all means. But for all the strippers, the only thing that I would recommend is have a backup plan. Because, baby, when you hit 40 or 50 and you've been stripping for 20 years, what now? Because that body changes.
Well, yeah, I hope no one will be stripping that long. I feel like you should make an exit plan.
Right. Be like a famous stripper, marry a football.
You'd be surprised how many people don't. And they look up, 20 years done went by and they almost pushing 40, like, and with nothing else they could do.
Some of them hit the jackpot. I know some strippers that, they came on up in life. You just, everything we're saying is have a plan.
Invest in something.
In self.
Just have a plan. Yeah.
Have a plan, invest in self. Y'all, I thank y'all for another great episode. Nykitia, can you tell the people where to find you if they need counseling services?
You can definitely go to the website at mentalresilient.com. On Instagram, I am the Resilient Therapist. I am located in 16690 North Dallas Parkway. So I am right off the North Dallas Tollway. So like north of, it's considered Dallas, Texas, but it's like right in that Addison, between Addison and Trinity Mills. And so I work with 5 and up. I do have interns that helps with additional services. I take most major insurances, self-pay rates as well. Also, I just recently got approved for Superior Medicaid, trying to help, the other population too. But as I tell everybody, my therapy is resilient, relatable, and real, and we're going to get you through it.
I like that. Well, you guys, this has been our episode of Dealing with Your Exes. We hope you gave you some valuable information. Guys, we'll be back next week. AM.
Yes. See y'all next week, y'all.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nykitia.
Y'all, thank you so much. If you missed us, you're watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. You can always catch the replay on Facebook and YouTube. Until next week, good night.
Peace, y'all. Good night.